sketchy wiring and fuel lines around spinny things, so that should work out pretty good. Pretty safe operation we got going on. What's going on, everybody? So it's been a little while, but we got a little small block blazer pulled back up here, and we're about to start plugging away on this old girl again and get her ready to hit the streets and play around. So for those of y'all that don't know, this is a 383 around 13-to-1 compression. Not exactly sure, but I did a compression test when this motor was in another truck we had here. It was originally in a C10, and did a compression test on it when it was in that truck. And I know number one cylinder here pumped around 250 or 260 on the compression tester, and the rest of them were a little bit lower than that. But the owner of the motor said it was 13-to-1 compression. Judging by the compression tester, that makes sense. And it's got World product heads on it. It's got some nice roller rockers under the valve covers. It's got a decent little cam in it. I don't know the specs or nothing like that. It's got a turbo 350 trans. Not sure of the stall, but it's a 10-inch converter, and I want to say probably around a 3500 stall, something like that. But either way, it should be a healthy little motor and ought to run pretty good in this little truck. The last video we got her sitting down in here, and it's pretty much where she's going to sit at, I do believe. We still got to weld these mounts up here in, and I got a cross member built for it. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's temporary and it'll work for now. I just made it out of scrap I had laying around. I didn't have any drill bits or anything like that, so I literally just cut the ends off of a old cross member I had, and then this is some old square tubing I had laying around. But it's very thin, so this is just going to be temporary so we can move this thing around and maybe just drive it down the road real easy and back. Definitely not going to trust it to get down on it or anything like that. I still got to put some bracing right here so that don't bend down, and I'm probably going to put some little gussets and stuff on the ends too, or something to brace it up a little bit more for now anyhow, because yeah, this is pretty thin tubing. But we're going to get some more square tubing, some good drill bits, because I ain't got none. We're going to get some plate, and we're going to build a much nicer cross member. Like I said, I'm not going to trust it to go hot rod around and get down on it or anything like that. I think on the next one I build, we're going to go up and then across. That way I won't have to have nothing like this in the center. But anyway, it'll work for now, so we can move this old girl around in the yard and stuff. I think that's where she's going to sit at. So yeah, we're just going to start plugging away on this thing. Put the carburetor on it. I gotta put it in time. I just set the distributor in it to make sure we had clearance on the firewall and stuff. So we gotta put her in time, carburetor, fuel pump, fuel lines and stuff. Gotta put the starter on it, which is over there on my 94, so I have to go pull that off, and then we'll need a starter for that again. But yeah, let me shut up and start plugging away on this old girl and get her closer to hot rodding. Daggone pine straw, leaves, crap. Get her valve cover pulled off, that way I can see the valves as I rotate it. Time it, that's the way I like to do mine. Gets it right every time. I hate sitting here having to crank on something and turn the distributor all over the place and all that crap, fighting it. A certain way I like to do it, and I ain't ever had a problem with them not firing right up. Woo, ain't that pretty. Old motor supposedly ain't been ran very much, which it don't look like it. As y'all can see, it's very clean on the inside. Everything still looks like new. Supposedly it ain't been ran very much, and I would say that's probably true. Let's pull our cap off here. Come here. I'm just curious to see exactly where it's sitting at. So, alright, the way I like to time mine is I turn them over. The exhaust opens and closes, and then the intake opens and closes. And then as the intake closing, the number one cylinder be coming up on the compression stroke, and then I can watch the line on the harmonic balancer and wait till it lines up with our timing tab, and she'll be in time. Let's just see where she's sitting at real quick though. Alright. Exhaust valve is opening, closing, intake's opening, closing. Alright, my timing tab at. Alright, well, my phone fell over there at the end, but timing tab's there. We got our line right in the middle on 0, and both of them are loose. We should be on compression stroke. I got all the plugs out of it, so this damn thing be easier to turn over, because let me tell you, she's got some compression, and it ain't the easiest in the world to turn over with all the plugs in it. I didn't feel like fighting with it, but as you can see, she's obviously out of time, so all we need to do is pick this up, pull her out, turn her around. I like to point mine about at the back of the carburetor, just straight forward. A little bit off, but that'll work right there. And then I just have to come back over here. Got this daggone wobbly head ratchet. Bust my knuckles again. Alright, it's always got to go down. Basically, I'm just going to roll over. Until the distributor falls in, like so. Now we'll roll her over again. Intake valve open, closing. Now with my line. Didn't pass it up. Yep. Didn't see it. Pass it up. Go back. Go back a little bit. And there we go. Okay, she's a little off, but that'll work. I always like mine pointing basically just straight forward, back of the carburetor, you know, front of the motor pretty much. I do it like that, and that seems to give you the most, you know, gives you the most play to advance and retard the timing as much as you need to. But let's see, just set the cap back on here. Number 1 is pointing about right there, so we'll have plenty of room to adjust it either way we need. But alright, we got her timed now. I guess I'll go. Oh, Daddy's firing up his C10. I guess we'll go rob the carburetor off. I meant not the carburetor. Go rob the starter off of that rig over there, put on here, because it's a high torque mini starter. A regular starter doesn't like turning this motor over. I think my work evening might get cut short today. It's very cloudy and getting windy. It's supposed to storm all damn day tomorrow. But let me see if I can get this thing off real quick anyhow. Yeah, what the hell's my dipstick doing down here? Okay. I really hate to take this thing off because it took me forever to get this thing to even half-ass work on here, even though it's still grinding a little bit. As you can see, the gear's mighty close to the flywheel, and that's literally as far as I can get it spaced away. I can't get it spaced any further away, which this starter is for the Blazer anyhow, so it won't be going back on here. I'll have to find me another one to work on this rig. All the shims. Got our starter back, and now this thing is starterless again. Well, I ended up running to the store and went and got me something to eat, so obviously this thing got dark on me, but we're gonna still at least try to get this starter on here. And we'll pull this header off since it's just got a couple bolts in it. Make it easier to get to everything, run the wires and stuff. This thing's already had a V8 in it before, so all the wires is already somewhere. Okay, here we go. Solenoid wire. On these are usually purple. That's not it though. Wire. Let's see what other wires we got here. Somebody might have changed it out. I don't know. We got a wire here that's cut. A couple cut wires. I don't know. I'll have to Figure our wires out. See what we can get done before it gets too late. Stay up a little bit late tonight. Alright, that'll make it easier to see everything. I've had this starter on here already, but I don't remember how many shims or what. I guess we'll have to find out once again. Well, hell. Looks like our starter is not going to fit. It's actually hitting right here. Huh. That's crazy. I didn't figure it would hit right there. I've had them hit down here in this part, and I've usually notched it out right there, but this starter is shaped a little different than a stock style starter or anything. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to notch it right there a little bit though. Yep, it's hitting right here in this little spot right here. I bought a new air compressor from Harbor Freight the other day. It comes with a free air tool. I ended up getting a little air saw. It comes with little small blades. So I figured I could use it on that Nissan to help cut out the transmission tunnel. Now I'm wishing I would have got the little die grinder they had, a little air grinder deal with the little small blades on it. It would have fit up in there perfectly, which I guess I still need to be able to get to it to replate it. Also need to replate this where they had it cut out, because they had a big block Chevy in here. They had this cut out for the oil pan. And this part of the starter is hitting right there. I imagine a stock style Chevrolet starter, a little small one like off a 4.3 or a newer model Vortec motor would probably fit in there perfectly, because it'll go up on the hug the block. And you can rotate this part on this starter, but even if I rotate it, all it's going to do really is just move the solenoid. It's not going to move this part, so that ain't going to really matter. So I guess we're going to have to pull the damn motor back out, which that sucks. I'm glad I didn't weld the mounts in. Glad I didn't do that. I ain't even tack them yet like I was going to. I figured I'd wait, make sure the starter fit in here, which I'm glad I did now. That sucks, because I was hoping to get the starter on it, throw the fuel pump on it, carburetor, run some fuel lines, and try to bust this thing off, but I guess that's going to be delayed. If we could just go back a little bit with the motor, that would solve that problem too, which we got room up here to go back a little bit, but we don't have much room right here to go back. That's the only problem. So we can't really go back with the motor, so it kind of forces me to cut that little part out. Yeah, honestly, it wasn't hitting a whole lot. I may could just pick the motor up a little bit and put some plate under the mounts there and weld them all together. I don't know. I'm just thinking, brainstorming, something I could do. If the drive shaft was a little bit shorter, I could just push the motor back some, but I gotta leave a little bit of play in the drive shaft there, and we'll figure something out come daylight tomorrow, which is supposed to flood all day tomorrow, so I don't know, it might be a couple days, but we'll figure something out. Coming down good. I got a river running through my front yard pretty much.
You know there's water in the house.
Alright, well, we got old girl pulled back up under here and the motor jacked back up, unfortunately, but we got to get her starter to fit somehow. I tried to adjust it just because, I mean, the big part, you can turn the head on it. It really don't move the big part of the starter, the part that's hitting on the frame. It moved it a little bit, but it really didn't make enough difference. But she's hitting right in this area, so we basically just gotta take out a little bit right there. My grinder just does fit in there. It would be a lot easier to do it with the damn motor out, that's for sure. I just really don't want to pull it out, but I guess it wouldn't be that bad because I got the cross member in there, so I could just set that part back in there where it needs to be, and then I got the mounts and all tight the way they're gonna need to sit, so I guess I could slide it out and slide it back in fairly easy. I just my foiler tore up again, damn rear end, stripped the rear end out, pulling vehicles around the yard. So the only thing I got to move stuff with is my truck. All right, well, we got our hole cut, or notch, whatever you want to call it. But we got it cut out. I went ahead and cut a nice big one. That way I didn't have to do this 2 or 3 times. Yeah, I had to pull this mount off to be able to get in there with the grinder and all the angles I needed to. But I guess now I'm gonna go ahead and put the starter on, and then I'll put this mount back on. We'll set her back down, and then I guess tomorrow we'll work on getting this thing busted off. I didn't have much time this evening. Pulled rear end out of the junk truck I had this morning and hauled it off to the junkyard earlier today. And then when I was picking the truck up off the trailer, the cab broke free from the frame because it was so rusty. Then the frame and the bed slammed down on my trailer and smashed my fender and messed the back of it up some more, so that's nice. But anyway, I'm gonna get all this put back on there, and then we'll come back at it tomorrow, and hopefully we can get this thing busted off. That's my plan anyhow. Whether it works out that way, I don't know. We'll have to see. Got our mount back on there, got the starter on there. It's gonna be mighty close, but she's gonna come back a little bit as it sits down. Oh, hell, it looks like I didn't go down far enough. What the hell? Damn it. Oh, we need to come back up with the motor and cut down a little bit further. Man, I hope I can get to it without pulling that starter back off. Oh man, well, ain't nothing to it but to do it. Alright, the next day, we've been fooling with it a little bit here already this morning. I forgot last night when I was messing with it that my cross member wasn't finished, and I didn't have it braced up, so part of it was kind of collapsing, and I had the back of the motor sitting down, so that was making my starter not want to clear, and I kind of cut my notch a little bit too big, but oh well. I think that's pretty much where she's gonna sit at. I put a jack under the transmission to jack it up a little bit to try to get it where I want it. And the motor had come forward a little bit too, so I slid the motor back as far as it would go. So yeah, we only got about, I don't know, maybe an inch or so of play with our drive shaft, so I don't want to slide the motor back any further. And as you can see, this is what I was talking about on my temporary cross member here. I didn't have this part braced up. I meant to put a piece from here to here on each side so it wouldn't do that. It needs to be up a little bit higher. This is about where I'm gonna have it sitting at. But we're gonna build another cross member. This is just temporary crap so we can move it around and stuff. But yeah, we can't really come back any further, but we got everything centered up. Drive shaft's nice and center. Runs through the tunnel like it should. Everything looks good under here, and everything looks pretty good up here. The starter's still mighty close, but it is clearing, so I guess that's where she's gonna sit at. I'll head her over here. Still got plenty of room, and once it's bolted up tight, it won't be hitting the cross member or anything. So I think we're about good to go to maybe tack our mounts in there. Now these mounts don't look right in here because they're full-size truck mounts. I meant to tell him to get like the 2.8 mounts or whatever, but I wasn't thinking right, and I just told him to grab some frame mounts, whatever would be fine, which they're working out, I guess. But I think the actual swap mounts would have probably worked a little better. Got the old welder broke out. We'll weld the front on both of these, and then it'll be somewhat permanently in there. We'll still need to get the backside and stuff. I might be able to get them from under it on the backside. I don't know. We'll see. I might have to end up unbolting the motor from the mounts after we tack them down, lift the motor up. That way I can get on the backside and stuff. But I don't know. I may can get to it. We'll see. Yeah, it ain't the prettiest, but I got a little bit on the front side. My old machine ain't doing too good. It's basically just making popcorn. Well, I didn't want to do it, but I decided to pull the motor and stuff back out. That way I could weld all around on these mounts as good as possible, since my machine ain't wanting to work very good. Plus I'm gonna clean this up a little bit more. Maybe we'll trim it down a little further. Maybe trim this off a little bit. I wish I had some plate. We'll go ahead and box that in, but it'll be alright for now. I reckon they had a big block in here, and I guess it was like that the whole time, so I'm sure it'll be fine with our little small block. But let me get to it, and then maybe we can get this thing slid back in here before the day's over. Alright, I think my tip here is my problem. So I got a new one here. Hopefully it's the right size. I think it's 30 thousandths wire. I usually run 35, but I've had these for a while. Yep. Alright. That fits. Hopefully that solves our popcorn making problem. Let's see if that makes any difference. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She's welding a lot better now. Old girl welds good and hot when she gets down to that last little bit of wire. I don't know why, but it welds so much better. Alright, well, I hope they don't have to come back out, because them babies is in there. Alright, well, our mounts are permanently welded in there. I hope they don't have to come back out. Not the prettiest in the world, but I don't think they're going anywhere. Damn weld machine always starts welding a lot smoother and hotter once I get low on wire. I don't know why it's like that, but you can tell this was at the end of the wire, and that was when I started. It was wanting to make popcorn when I first started, but got down to the end of the roll and it starts burning a lot smoother and hotter. But either way, they in there, and I don't think they going anywhere. Put a little paint on all this, and then we're gonna try to get the old motor slid back off in here, and then we'll finally have this damn thing permanently mounted in here. Finally. I done pulled this thing in and out way more times than I wanted to. Shaft in when I pulled the motor out, so I had to make them back together as it goes in. Alright, we got our plugs, wires, fuel pump stuff here. I'm trying to get my carburetor nuts and header bolts dug out of the bottom of the intake here. Yeah, I got most of them out already. There's that there. Just got one more nut for the carb studs. Oh, and there's another header bolt down there. Couldn't find all my header bolts. I was looking for them and found them under the intake. Can't find my magnet, so we'll have to make her own. Come here, baby. Ah, come on. Come on. Look at that. No! Yep, it worked good enough to get it out anyhow. Got our carburetor bolted down. Got our plugs and stuff in it. Got this header. Well, just a couple bolts backing in. I'm gonna leave this one off for now. I'm gonna run my wires to my starter and stuff. But before we do that, we gotta get all these figured out, because just about all of them's cut or in bad shape. So we got to do some wiring here. Purple is solenoid, red is obviously another hot, and then this one here, I think that's alternator wire, and then all this crap here, all that's just extra junk that we'll clean up eventually, get all that crap out of the way. But yep, we got to add some wire here and put some ends and stuff on them. All right, we got a little bit of rigging going on here. It's got a connector on it. I just wrapped tape around it just to help insulate it a little bit. But yeah, I got all my wires ran to the starter, hot wires and stuff hooked up. Got a couple grounds down here, one from the frame to the block, and then from the block to the battery. This one here is a little long, but it'll be all right. This wire here I'm gonna have to make longer. It's a little too short, but I just put it on there for now just to see what's gonna work or not work. I want to make sure my starter's gonna turn over and not bind up or grind or anything like that. Might have to put some shims on it. I can't remember if it had shims on it with this motor or what, so we might have to play with that a little bit. So I'm gonna make sure all the wiring and stuff works, and then we'll worry about getting the headers and all that on it. All right, got our battery hooked up, but we still ain't got no juice. So that means one of these wires here still needs to be hot. So let's see. Yeah, there we go. Sounds like we might have something now. What about this one? What's it do? Same thing. Alright, let's see. Oh. Well, yeah, we got power, babe. I think that other hot wire is probably for the gauges and lights or something, since ain't nothing coming on. Well, starter's turning over. That's all we needed. All right, well, we got everything rigged up enough to try to fire it off for the first time in here. Obviously, if it fires up, that'll be all we can do. It ain't drivable. I ain't got enough patience to put everything together, get it ready to drive, and then try to fire it for the first time. I always put a motor in, put the least amount of stuff on it necessary for the run, and then I like to fire them up, make sure everything's good, and then finish putting it all together. That's just the way I've always been. I just like to hear stuff run as soon as possible. So we got a little bit of 112, 116, I don't remember, but one or the other mixed with a little pump gas. We gotta have the good stuff for old girl. See if she'll do anything. Look at that. Fires right up, baby. First try. Hell yeah, old girl busted right off. I ain't even touched the distributor or anything. Went ahead and stuck this header on here. Yeah, that's backwards. I didn't feel like pulling my plug wires and all back off and putting it on there and then putting it back on. I just stuck it on there like that real quick. And we're gonna see if she'll fire up and run a little bit longer. We are one step closer to having us another hot rod. Obviously we got a lot of wiring and straightening up to do. I got everything kind of just twisted together here and there for now. Did put a few connectors on it, but a couple of them we're going to have to redo, make the wires longer. I don't know why they cut everything. It ain't very hard to just unplug stuff, but it is what it is. We'll get her all straightened out. Well, as you can see, I was trying to put the fuel pump on, but it's hitting the frame too. So unfortunately, I hate to say it, but we're going to have to do some more frame notching. I don't think it's going to take too much though, and we'll be able to get her to fit. Now if we had an electric fuel pump, we wouldn't even have to worry about that, but we don't have an electric fuel pump, so we're going to have to worry about that. But this is just another example of why I should have went with a different frame mount, probably the 2.8 mounts or whatever, because they would have picked the motor up a little bit. Because I've done tons of V8 S10 swaps and I ain't ever had to notch the frame for a manual fuel pump. But with these frame mounts, the motor sits a little bit lower than it normally would. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to notch the frame a little bit. I don't think it's gonna take too much, and hopefully I won't have to pick the damn motor back up out of here. All right, we got her notched out. See if this bastard will fit. Aha. Hell yeah. Fuel line's a little close, but it'll work. Alright, we got her on there. I'm going to get some fuel line and stuff. I'm probably going to have to eventually pull this motor and stuff back out before we start getting too rowdy with this thing at the track and stuff, and trying to get it to hook up and crap. And plate all these notches and crap we cut in the frame, because between what I've cut for the fuel pump and the starter and what the previous owners cut out for the big block they had in here, she's probably not as strong as she was factory. So probably be a good idea to box all this stuff in, plate it all in. Well, let's see, we got our fuel pump on, our lines all hooked up. We got our 93 and 112, 116 mix. I don't remember, but one or the other. Should be around 100 octane. Should be good enough for this motor. Battery's hooked up. I flipped the header around. It ain't got all the bolts in it. Neither does this side over here. We got to get gaskets and stuff like that. Yeah, we're about to try to fire it up. We got sketchy wiring and fuel lines around spinny things, so that should work out pretty good. And then we got a few naked wires here and there, so you know, pretty safe operation we got going on. Let's see if this thing will fire up and run on its own, or run off the jug anyhow. Give it a good little drink. Alright now. Alright, she's got gas in her. Alright, we got some fuel leaks going on here. I guess our bowl's stuck on the back and the boosters is dripping a little bit, but I mean, it was running off the jug anyhow. I'm just gonna have to do a little tinkering with our carburetor. At least we got her fired up in here. Now we just gotta start straightening things out. We gotta go get some parts, wire, fuel line, clamps, connectors, little odd and end things like that. Gotta find a radiator. I should have one laying around here somewhere. I got several sets of electric fans, so we should be good on that part. But yeah, I know I'm just glad to finally hear this old girl run in here after all the damn bull crap I went through to make this thing fit. But I guess that's my fault for getting the wrong motor mounts. I should have got some a little bit taller so it would sit up higher, and then I wouldn't have had to do so much work with notching frame and crap to make everything fit. But she's in there and she runs, so I guess that's a win. But anyway, I reckon we're gonna end her off here. I'm gonna probably jump over to the little Nissan here and get back on it. We got the motor and stuff tore down, putting it together, all the go fast goodies. But yeah, y'all just let me know what y'all think about it, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Later.